I burst out with a laugh and ran away. But that was only in the beginning, before I knew him. Afterwards, when I knew Herr Hertz better, he lived at our house for over a year, I loved him so well that I did not care if he said no prayers and ate his food without saying the blessings. Nevertheless, I did not understand how he existed, and why the Lord allowed him to remain in the world. Why was he not choked at table, and why did the hair not fall out of his uncovered head? I had heard from my teacher, Motel, the angel of death, from his own mouth, that this German Jew was only a spirit. That is to say, a Jew was turned into a German, and later on he might turn into a wolf, a cow, a horse, or maybe a duck. A duck? Ha ha ha! A fine story, thought I, but I was genuinely sorry for the German. Nevertheless, I did not understand why my father, who was a very orthodox Jew, should pay the German Jew so much respect, as also did the other Jews who used to come into our house. "Peace be unto you, Reb Hertz. Blessed art thou who comest, Reb Hertz. I once ventured to ask my father why this was so, but he thrust me to one side and said, "Go away, it is not your business. Why do you get under our feet? Who the devil wants you? Why the devil can't you take a book into your hands?" Again a book! Lord of the world, I also want to see. I also want to hear what people are saying. I went into the parlour, hid myself in a corner, and heard everything the men talked about. Herr Hertz laughed aloud and smoked thick black cigars that had a very strong smell. Suddenly my father came over to me and gave me a smack. "Are you here again, you idler and good-for-nothing? What will become of you, you dunce? What will become of you? Heh 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 heh!" It was no use. My father drove me out. I took a book into my hands, but I did not want to read it. What was I to do? I went about the house from one room to the other until I came to the nicest room of all, the room in which slept Herr Hertz. Ah, how beautiful and bright it was! The lamps were lit and the mirror shone. On the table was a big beautiful silver inkstand, and beautiful pens, also little ornaments, men and animals and flowers and bones and stones, and a little knife. Ah, what a beautiful knife! What if I had such a knife? What fine things I would make with it! How happy I should be! Well, I must try it. Is it sharp? Ah, it cuts a hair, it slices up a hair. Oh, 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 what a knife! One moment I held the knife in my hand. I looked about me on all sides and slipped it into my pocket. My hands trembled. My heart was beating so loudly I could hear it saying tick, tick, tick. I heard someone coming. It was he, Herr Hertz. Ah, what was I to do? The knife might remain in my pocket. I could put it back later on. Meanwhile I must get out of the room, run away, far. I could eat no supper that night. My mother felt my head. My father threw angry glances at me and told me to go to bed. Sleep? Could I close my eyes? I was like dead. What was I to do with the little knife? How was I going to put it back again? "Come over here, my little ornament," said my father to me the next day. "Did you see the little pocket knife anywhere?" Of course I was very much frightened. It seemed to me that he knew, that everybody knew. I was almost crying out, "The pocket knife, here it is!" But something came into my throat and would not let me utter a sound for a minute or so. In a shaking voice I replied, "Where? What pocket knife?" "Where? "What knife?" my father mocked at me. "What knife? The golden knife, our guest's knife, you good-for-nothing, you! You dunce, you!" "What do you want of the child?" put in my mother. "The child knows nothing of anything, and he worries him about the knife, the knife." "The knife, the knife! How can he not know about it?" cried my father angrily. "All the morning he hears me shouting, 'The knife, the knife, the knife!' The house is turned upside down for the knife, and he asks, 'Where? What knife?' Go away, go and wash yourself, you good-for-nothing, you! You dunce, dunce!" I thank Thee, Lord of the Universe, that they did not search me. But what was I to do next? The knife had to be hidden somewhere, in a safe place. Where was I to hide it? Ah, in the attic! I took the knife quickly from my pocket and stuck it into my top boot. I ate, and I did not know what I was eating. I was choking. "Why are you in such a hurry? What the devil?" asked my father. "I am hurrying off to school," I answered, and grew red as fire. "A scholar all of a sudden! What do you say to such a saint?" he muttered and glared at me. I barely managed to finish my breakfast and say grace. "Well, why are you not off to Cheder, my saint?" asked my father. "Why do you hunt him so?" asked my mother. "Let the child sit a minute." I was in the attic. Deep, deep in a hole lay the beautiful knife. It lay there in silence. "What are you doing in the attic?" called my father. "You good-for-nothing, you street boy!" "I'm looking for something," I answered. I nearly fell down with fright. "Something? What is the something? What sort of a thing is the something?" "A book, an old Gemara." "What? A Gemara in the attic? Ah, you scamp, you! Come down at once! Come down! You'll get it from me, you street boy, you dog beater, you rascal!" I was not so much afraid of my father's anger as that the pocket knife might be found. Who could tell? Perhaps someone would go up to the attic to hang out clothes to dry or to paint the rafters. The knife must be taken down from there and hidden in a better place. I went about in fear and trembling. Every glance at my father told me that he knew, and that now he was going to talk to me of the guest's knife. I had a place for it, a grand place. I would bury it in the ground, in a hole near the wall. I would put some straw on the spot to mark it. The moment I came from Cheder, I ran out into the yard. I took the knife carefully from my pocket, but had no time to look at it when my father called out, "Where are you at all? Why don't you go and say your prayers, you swineherd, you? You are a water carrier!" But whatever my father said to me, and as much as the teacher beat me, it was all rubbish to me when I came home and had the pleasure of seeing my one and only dear friend, my little knife. The pleasure was, alas, mixed with pain and embittered by fear, by great fear. It is the summer time. The sun is setting, the air grows somewhat cooler, the grass emits a sweet odour. The frogs croak and the thick clouds fly by without rain across the moon. They wish to swallow her up. The silvery white moon hides herself every minute and shows herself again. It seemed to me that she was flying and flying, but was still on the same spot. My father sat down on the grass in a long mantle. He had one hand in the bosom of his coat, and with the other he smoothed down the grass. He looked up at the star-spangled sky and coughed and coughed.